Hello, everybody. This is Harriet Westmore with the More to Discover podcast. This is a podcast where we women come to a safe place and space where we can discuss our journeys to our more self-discovery. Don't forget, before I introduce my fabulous guest, don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe. Sharing is caring because we want to get this content out into the algorithm on YouTube. And I have to tell you just a quick little glitch that we have prior to coming on, which is why I'm so glad I have this beautiful guest. For some reason, any content creator knows how when equipment goes wrong at the wrong time, it will. So for some reason, my camera couldn't go on, so we tried everything. I was getting frustrated, and this lovely lady, my lovely guest, she used the calming. She said, "Don't worry, just turn everything off, just breathe, and we'll start again." And everything came back, on its plan. So Miss Rashini Cope, thank you so much. I'm going to introduce you. She is the Glamazini. She's a certified life coach and a content creator herself. So please check her out. We will have her content at the end of the podcast. And her mission is to help women who heal, amplify their gifts, and create lives that they always wanted. And through her videos and coaching, it's called Create Your Life Virtual Planning Retreat. And she helps women reclaim our identity, honor our nervous systems, and turn our visions into grounded, through aligned action. So, Rashini, thank you so much, and thank you so much for your patience and your calming and your calming voice to get this thing through.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, we had the technology gremlins, you guys. And since I am a content creator who does this, I host guests. I know exactly how it happens. And so we made it. We're here. Let's have a beautiful conversation.
All right, awesome. So let's talk about you. Where did you start, and how did you start your journey onto your self-discovery?
Oh wow, that's a loaded question. So I'll go the path of my online journey. I started posting content on the internet before Facebook existed. So
Oh,
I'm a long time content creator before the
oh,
word content creator even existed. I had a URL that was my name back in the day because that's what people did. I'm Gen
mm-hmm,
X, so you just kind of buy a URL. I didn't know what to do with it, so I put my resume on it, and then eventually I decided to start wearing my natural hair. And
mm,
because I have a web design background, I went ahead and started posting to a website that I hand coded about
mm-hmm.
my natural hair journey. Um, had followers on that website, rushni.net, for anybody who's that old to remember. There are people who still remember that. Um, Hand coded it, did it myself, and then blogs started showing up after that. That's how long ago this was. And then I found out in the comment section from people about hair forums and all these different things where other Black women were transitioning to wearing their natural hair. So I started
Yep.
talking over there and had people commenting on me being funny. I've kind of given up now. I'm 50, so I've reconciled with the fact that I'm funny. But back then I was trying to be serious. And they were like, but ha ha ha. So anyway, people are like, you're funny. You should be on YouTube. And I was like, I thought YouTube was cat videos. What is YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
So I went to YouTube, found a community of Black women recording things about their natural hair and started posting there. So in the world of the natural hair online community, I'm one of the seminal members, which is a fascinating thing because back then we didn't really realize what we were doing. We were just kind of like sharing information with
Right,
anybody. This was
exactly.
before things were even monetized. Like I've been on
Right.
YouTube longer than monetization.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So eventually, just like people started saying to me, you're funny, you should be on video. People started asking me questions beyond what I was sharing with my hair because I guess
Mm-hmm.
I'm a person that shares things. And one of the things I would share about was mental health and some of my own mental health um, issues and
Mm-hmm.
diagnoses and all these things. And
Mm-hmm.
unbeknownst to me, apparently I had a very calm and vulnerable way of sharing things that most people hide. Um, and so there are videos of me talking about depression and mental health on the internet that are 16 and 17 years old because I just did not know. And so as people began to ask me questions, I would just share more. People
Mhm.
went along on a lot of journeys with me, my mental health journey. I started talking about that more. Of course, I was sharing my hair back then too. I don't talk
Mhm.
about my hair as much now, but that was where it started. I also had a really long stint of just really kind of making funny videos on the internet. I was just kind of goofing off because apparently I'm funny.
You
And that
are.
was that was a good time, right? Like that was a good time. And the coaching was an offshoot of exactly that. Once I started talking and people started seeing my journey, women would um, reach out to me and be like, "How do I work with you?" And I'm like, "To do what?" Right?
He said,
And so eventually I started life coaching. I was doing it, I guess it's like 8 or 9 years ago now. And a few
mm,
years ago, I went and I got a year-long certification. So now I'm a certified integrative health coach. And I work with women one-on-one and I work with them in group to help them figure out who they are, which is identity work. That's the core foundation of what I find is most useful for Black women because
right,
of how we are. We tend not to know who we are. And
right.
because of that, we tend not to be able to then figure out what we want. And we are living a life that's not our own. And so a lot of my work anchors Black women in identity.
Mhm.
And then from that, creating a life that they love, that loves them back. So that's kind of how I got here.
Wow. What a lot. And you know what? I'm laughing. I'm thinking to myself, I probably was on one of those forums and because you kind of look, I'm thinking now that you're saying that, you kind of look familiar. So I probably was one of your followers
You know what?
back
What's
in the
funny to
day.
me, because I've lived several online lives,
Mm-hmm.
that happens a lot. I actually had a lady who was in a group interview, like how you're doing right here, on
Mm-hmm.
someone else's channel. So I was a guest host on someone else's channel. They told me I could, go by myself. And because I like a party, I
Mm-hmm.
invited 3 other Black women to be on their channel. So I was hosting all these women talking about the topic. It was a good time. And one of the ladies that was on there with me, like a little bit later, we keep in touch on WhatsApp. And I
Mm-hmm.
guess she watched a video of me on someone else's channel where I mentioned one of my funny viral videos.
Uh-huh.
She inboxes me and says, "Wait a minute, that video was you?" And I went all the way back on my old Facebook, pulled up the old video, I mean, like years ago, 7, 8 years ago, sent her the link, and I said, "This video," and she was like, "Rushni, that's you." And I'm like, "Yes."
Wow.
I was like, "Yes,
Wow.
the natural hair lady is me. The hilarious, funny woman is me. The life coach, mental health lady is me. And also now, because I have a son with special needs, the caregiver conversations lady is me. It's all me. And I can always tell where somebody is on their journey with, if I meet them in real life, what
Mm.
they say to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? The people who come up, "Aren't you the lady with the natural hair thing?" I think, okay, "Aren't you the lady that makes the funny video?" You know what I mean? "Aren't you
Mm-hmm.
the somebody the other day, I was at a comedy show and the lady kept saying, "You look familiar. Do you talk about mental health?" And I was like, that's so fun to me that there's been so many iterations of,
Yeah.
and it's all my actual journey. It's just
Wow.
like I'm just living my life and sharing the
Mm-hmm.
things that my life unfolds on. So you may have seen me somewhere and not even realize.
Right, exactly. Because you were blogging before blogging even came, was a thing back
I was
then.
blogging before blogs existed.
Right.
I was hand coding a website.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, now how do you feel now since you are actually the actual coder of a website to
Mhm.
what is how it evolves now? What's your thoughts on, no coding required type
I'm
websites?
fine with it.
You fine with it?
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with it. When I started using Photoshop at Photoshop 2.0 in
Mm-hmm.
college, and I used to make a joke about how every day I wake up just so I could use Photoshop. I'm an avid Photoshop user. I loved. You hear me say past tense it? I spent probably 2.5 decades of my life opening Photoshop every single day. I stopped using Photoshop because Canva is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now I'm not saying that Canva can do everything Photoshop can do. It cannot.
Mm-hmm.
But I opened Canva and I just didn't use Photoshop anymore. I will edit on CapCut, even though I know I'm self-taught on how to use Final Cut Pro. I actually went to school and learned how to use some of these programs, Premiere and all that
Okay.
stuff. So I am not like a snob in the sense of you have to do it the advanced way. I
Right.
love the fact that access to these things are ubiquitous. You and I are sitting here right now recording this on
Mm-hmm.
an online studio that would have taken with cameras and microphones. And this would have taken so much capital,
Yeah.
knowledge, all of it, technology, and we don't need it. And so
Right.
I think it opens up a space for so many of us to get our voice and our message out, and I love it. So I'm never gonna be that person that's like, "You didn't do it the way." Although, like, a lot of these ways I can do it, and trust me, if I need to do something,
Mm-hmm.
I just open up Final Cut and I do it. Like, I'm like, "Okay, CapCut, you got me on the, let me go do the fancy thing."
Mm-hmm.
But I absolutely love it. I love the fact that I don't have to hand code my website. I can just toss it in a blog.
Yeah.
Love it.
Absolutely. And speaking of CapCut, I'll talk to you offline because I have problems with that for some reason. I don't know, but we'll talk afterwards. But anyway, as far as Black women and us, especially you sharing the mental health issues, that's always a stigma for us. Not as only as Black women, but as our Black community as a whole. How open do you think we are now as opposed to when you started talking about yourself and your journey?
So much more open than when I started. I love to see the evolution of conversations on the internet, and I feel like for all of the negative things that the internet adds to our life, there are so
Hmm.
many positive things. One of which is representation and
Hmm.
normalization of experiences as a human being. And so I um, fully accept any credit I get for being one of the strange people 20 years ago that would just sit down and be like, "Hello, I have a depression diagnosis. Let's talk
Hmm.
about medication," and not even, I think one of my superpowers apparently is not even realizing things have a stigma, or like not, natural hair was another thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just jumped on the internet. I'm talking about, no, I mean, I have ring lights now because it's 2026. But back then it was a medicine cabinet with a 2 megapixel camera and my hair looking like this. And not, you know what I mean? And that's
Hmm.
like, that was unheard of. And I was like, I didn't know we weren't supposed to talk about that. So I love watching the transformation and like the evolution of the conversations
Hmm.
online. And I think there's a lot of space for us to grow, but I love seeing the growth so far. Um,
Right.
People reach out to me all the time now in a way that it was like a whisper. I would get these inboxes of people who would be like, "I've never seen a Black woman say she's a Christian and say she has a depression diagnosis. So what
Mm.
are you doing?" Right? I have people who have credited me over the years, like years later, coming back and being like, "I used to watch your videos and I went and I got help. I went and got a
Wow.
diagnosis because of you. I XYZ." You know what I mean? You
Hmm.
pointed to this resource and I went through the resource and took it to my doctor and the doctor was like, "You have depression." And
Wow. Yeah.
years later they'll come back and tell me that I was that for them. And
Hmm.
I love that. I love to see it. Like I said, I'm very much not a gatekeeper type. I am very much a, everyone should have access to this information, whether it's
Right.
the technology for us to sit here and do this recording, or
Hmm.
for you to know, like, you're a human being. Nothing's wrong
Absolutely.
with you. You are having a valid response to a difficult situation or to a brain chemical difference, and
Hmm.
life continues. And, it's kind of like how you just said the effect I had on you with the technical issues. I think
Hmm.
I have that effect in a lot of places where I normalize people's humanity. And I'm like, nothing's wrong with you. Actually, you sound like a normal human being. And they're like, really? Yeah, that's kind of how that works. So I love it. I absolutely love it. And I love seeing how much growth has happened over the years.
Absolutely. And I think what you're saying as far as normalizing the human, making us making someone else feel like there's nothing wrong with you. It's you're not the only one that's going through this. It's normal. Don't feel that you're crazy.
Mhm.
That was our term, or touch in the head in our culture, our term, and to seek help at where you need to. Now, I want to touch on what you said about your reclaiming our identity. And I want to talk about the workplace and the toxicity in the workplace. For some reason, I'm freezing. But the word that came to me when you said to reclaim our identity know or find our identity is the work code switching. How we code switch from work to act in a certain way. And that's not really us, when we at work, as opposed to when we get home. How can we infuse the two and just be who we are? Why is it that we, do the code switching at work and kind of lose our identity at work, as opposed to being when we're at home, we can okay, take that mask off. This is who I really am. So how can we kind of, put that together and be who we are all the time?
That's a tricky one, because a lot of us are going to work in systems that are not designed for us to be ourselves. And so the coach, let me say this, I would love for and there probably has been, but I'm unaware of it, there to be a study about the exhaustion and the effects of code switching at that rate, especially in Black women. The answer to your question is I'm not 100% sure that we can, because unfortunately, many of us are employed in systems and spaces that are not going to allow us to be our full self. And it's tricky. It's complicated. The reason we code switch is to create safety, right? Who we are at work is a role that we feel we might need to fit into, and we do what we need to fit into that role, right? We changed the way we wear our hair. We changed the way our cadence, our voice, the words we choose. We change the way we do our makeup, the clothing that we might be wearing. If we were all able to live in a world where we could show up in our spaces as our authentic self, my God, what an amazing world that would be.
Right.
So the answer to your question of how do we integrate and show up as our real authentic selves, there's so much work and it's complicated. A lot of these spaces are not going to allow that. However, we also could become part of the change, right? If we have, one of the things that comes to mind is if we have a space, a job, if we are employing people, we can be the people that create an environment where people can be themselves, right? I am a huge person in the community of the Job Liberation Summit. I don't know if you know of them.
Yes, I was there.
And
I was there. Yep.
Right. And so there's a lot of Black women online doing the work to bridge ourselves from that code switched masked version of self to our authentic selves. And we are in a very unique space right now where we're in the middle of those changes. Myself personally, I never fully thrived in corporate jobs. I started out in corporate environments for many years. I just turned 50. And so I always joke around with people and say I'm older than you think I am, because I was in corporate. Right. People are like, huh? I'm like, I've been out of corporate spaces for 15 years. I was in corporate spaces for 15 years. And when I say that, people are like, how old are you? I'm like, older than you think. Older than you think, boo-boo. Okay. As in I could have been 30 years deep in this thing.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a personality type that doesn't bloom in those spaces. And I really was not. I think if I went right now, I'd probably have a different mindset. But to answer your question, it's complicated. It's hard. I am never going to lie to a Black woman and say, go in there and be 100% yourself and you're going to thrive.
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends. Are you in a space that's designed for you to thrive, or are you in a space that's designed to extract your labor? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things is to know what you're going into. A lot of Black women, especially with so many of us losing jobs in this past year, et cetera, because of, what's going on with the DEI being dropped off, and a lot of Black women working in spaces that are empathy driven. Uh-oh, I lost her. I know this is a recording, Harriet. Harriet, I lost you.
Yeah, for some reason it went.
Girl, I was about to say, listen, you're going to see on the recording. I was saying, I know this is a recording, Harriet. And I'm like, but you just really want me to take over your podcast. I was about to say, girl, you just, listen, I'm going to do it. Okay, Harriet said she had to go, y'all. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about Black women. I didn't even get to finish my sentence. Like, she really just want me to do this for her. I will do it, girl.
This is the second time this happened, you guys. So I'm just saying, this maybe she is meant to, just go ahead, just take it over, just.
I'm like, this is the sec. I said, she really want me to get in here and do this. I will do it, girl. All you got to do is ask. You don't have to keep jumping out. You don't have to keep leaving.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, I think what I was saying was, let's see, what I was saying was so many Black women are being brought to a reality that's hard to acknowledge.
Yeah.
The dream that we were in we're being like slapped with reality.
Right.
And so the work is to protect yourself. That's the first thing I'm gonna say, Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do not sacrifice yourself on anybody's anything at this point. We're not that. And then also decide how you want to show up so that more and more of us, including you, don't do the work without including yourself,
Mm-hmm.
get to show up in spaces authentic.
Mm.
And whatever that looks like, each of us do our part. Right? Because we were all kind of like we're building, we're empathetic, we have all these social services and this and that and the other. And now it's very disorienting.
Yes.
Right? And so I would never be like, just go in there and be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Might not work out for you. However, we can create our own spaces. And a lot of us are doing just that.
Exactly.
I think even your podcast, things like this are spaces where we are like, come together, brilliant minds. I feel like I'm 100% myself talking to you. I don't feel like you're pretending to be anything.
Oh,
right? And we get to have these conversations that are still conversations of depth, conversations that move the needle as our authentic selves.
I love that.
Right?
I love that. Just give us one thing that we could do to, because you mentioned in your bio about you honoring our nervous system. When we get to the point to where we're anxious and, like you said, at work, we have to deal with certain, toxicity or whatever it may be, or even in our personal lives. Give us one gem that we can use to kind of bring it down and, honor our nervous system.
So this is what I will share. I am starting to believe that the gift of a healing journey is a regulated nervous system. Before I had consciousness of the neurology of healing, I used to coach women and tell them that they have to learn how to self-soothe like a baby. Those were the words I would use, right? I was just telling a coaching client this yesterday. And I said, the way that my brain conceptualized it was, I would tell women to take their 5 senses. You're seeing, your hearing, you're smelling, your touch, your taste, right? And the same way you would soothe a baby, you have to continue to soothe yourself. That's what I would tell them. Because you are a human being. Babies are human beings. You are human beings. Right? If something soft makes you feel calm when you were a baby, it probably still helps you feel calm now. If rocking when you were a baby helped you feel calm, then maybe you need a rocking chair right now. I am in love with my vibration plate. Okay. I love that thing. Love it every day. Right? If the way things smell makes you feel calm, maybe right? I have my diffuser.
Me too.
Going right now.
I use that. Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
If the way things look, I don't know if you see, there's a whole lot of pineapples and joyous things behind, because those things affect me. I love that. Right? And so don't cut off, once again, your humanity just because you become an adult. Learn to self-soothe. I realized later that what I was describing was nervous system regulation. Once I started getting into reading research studies and how your brain works, right? And so self-soothing is how you learn to regulate your own emotions. If you know something about the human brain, when you are in the emotional part of your brain, you're in the part that's the limbic system. It's back in here. It is your stress response. It is to get you out of what feels like danger to safety. It is a valid response to a stressful situation. So back in the day, a bear is chasing you, you got to run. Now you're at work. It feels like a bear is chasing you, but it's really your boss coming down on you.
Right.
One of the things that happens when you're in that part of your brain, if you lose access to the prefrontal cortex, which is your executive functioning, it's your clear thinking. That's why you can't get your thoughts together. That's why you can't form a good sentence. That's why all you're thinking is fight, flight, freeze, run.
Right.
So what I would tell every Black woman is come up with a toolkit of what soothes you to calm your nervous system. If you have no idea, observe yourself and use your five senses as a guide. What do you look at that makes you calm? What do you smell that makes you calm? What do you, right? And intentionally have that toolkit so that when you need to calm yourself, you can access your unique toolkit and go to actively accessing the front of your brain.
Right.
And then you can make decisions so that when you're at work, you don't feel like you're being silenced. You're dissociating,
Mm-hmm.
or you're cussing people out,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're freezing, you're fawning, you're buttering them up, and then you're right. You're up here, and it is a practice. There is a practice in that healing work. It's an internal practice that does not require anybody else. That requires you paying attention to you and being like, oh, breathing exercises makes me calm. A fidget. Some people like fidget things,
Yeah.
makes them
Yeah, I've
calm. Some
heard that.
people like
Yeah.
smells. Some people like, right? You find your own unique self-soothing toolkit and you continually practice when you don't need to, calming yourself down
Mm-hmm.
so that when you are in environments where you have a valid, because you're a human being, remember that humanity is
Right.
always there, a
Right.
valid stress response to something, you can regulate yourself and bring yourself back to the decision-making part of your brain, the adult executive functioning, and decide from there. That's what I would tell every Black woman. Really learning that about yourself
Mm-hmm.
changes everything. It changes how you communicate. It changes how your body feels. It changes how you present to other people. It changes the environments that you sit in. Because over time, a lot of women that learn to calm and regulate themselves realize that they are in persistently stressful spaces and they don't want to be there no more.
Right. Right.
You get calm, you get regulated, and you realize you've been sitting in a boiling pot this whole time. This place is a pot of confusion,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And so that would be the number one thing that I think women should have in their toolkit for themselves.
Wow. Soothe yourself. I've
Soothe
never
yourself.
I've never heard it, explained like that. And that's just so simple, but it's so powerful at the same
It
time.
is so powerful. And when you start realizing how dysregulated you may have been walking through life, give yourself grace, because Black woman, right? That's a valid response to a chaotic world that we are in. You're having a valid stress response to a world that's not designed for you to be calm.
Right.
I feel like part of liberation is learning to calm yourself down. And then you get to have agency over your own life, because now you are making decisions that can benefit you as opposed to being used by a system that benefits from you being a dysregulated and distracted Black woman.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Wow. Where can people reach out to you? If they, I mean, I'm telling you, we need to support this sister here. Where can people, if they want to have your services, where can they reach out to you at?
I work with Black women one-on-one
Okay.
and group coaching. You can find me at glamazini.com. It is the spelling on the screen, same thing, Glamazini. If you go to that site and you click on coaching, you can find out how to work with me. One of the ways that one of the popular things that happens is every single year I do a virtual planning retreat. Once again, like I said, a lot of these things are just offshoots of my story. I decided years ago I wanted to change my life and take over the world. I started going to a hotel on my own once a year and doing you get like coaching things and notebooks and exercise all on my own without anybody else.
Wow.
And over the years, I would come up with this, version of it that I called my own personal planning retreat. And I would do it on my own. In January 2020, I was at a hotel doing my own personal planning retreat. I had a one-on-one coaching call, and one of my clients said, I would love to do your retreat with you. And I was like, I don't know what you mean by that. What? Of course, we know what happened 2 months later. The whole world shut down. Everything went online.
Right.
And I took my notes, my personal notes that I had been using for years. I kind of gathered them up, threw them up on some random website that I don't even think the website exists anymore, and hosted 50 women in 2021 for free
Really?
to do my virtual planning retreat with me, like just cuz. And I think I did it in January and February. I think I did January and February, right? And I made it like a week-long thing, yada, yada, yada. And then eventually over time, it's turned into an annual event. It's not free anymore. Of course, it's not free anymore. And I have made it, there's videos and I updated it. It's really a catalog of the exercises and information that I have learned over decades at this point now that helps me, one, figure out who I am and then create a plan for the next 12 months based off of identity work. And so the last time we did it was this, December of 2025 cohort. And there were 14 women that did it with me. And I offer group coaching after that. We meet once a month and do accountability calls. And there are women who have done this retreat with me now 4 years in a row, 5 years in a row. And I am literally watching people change their lives. It is one up, right? So the planning retreat is a good time. It happens once a year.
Okay, what like in December or January?
Yeah, it's in December.
Okay.
And you can find out about it at Glamazini.com.
Okay.
And yes, it's open for enrollment right now.
Okay, good.
And then also I do one-on-one coaching. I just literally, like I said, I had a coaching call with someone yesterday and we were talking about something. So yeah, if people want to find me, Glamazini.com, I would love to work with you.
Absolutely. And I'm definitely planning on being at the virtual planning retreat. So ladies, this is a definite gem right here. And you can just in the short time that we've been together, she has imparted a lot of wisdom. And with simplicity and with a little humor, which we all can definitely appreciate. So with that being said, thank you, Rashidi, so much for, being a guest on my show. She is very famous because I saw her on another podcast. I'm like, oh my gosh, she accept my little, I was really grateful for that. And it's all about, women, supporting each other. There's enough room for everybody. You don't have to have that crab in a bucket mentality that a lot of us have. And I'm all about, sharing knowledge and uplifting my own sisters, because that's what it's all about. Because in the end of the day, who else do we have?
Absolutely. And all of us started from somewhere.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for having me. I wasn't even looking to see whether you had big or small. If I'm being honest, you guys, I just looked at her videos and was like, let me see if I want to talk to this woman. Okay. Because I got a little bit of sense of people's spirit. You know what I mean? I said, do you remember? You said, can I do your video? And I said, send me the link.
You did.
Send me the link. Let me suss you out first. Let me watch a few videos, see if you're somebody. And I was like, I like her. I like her very much. Now, granted, we did meet the first call. I had a really bad headache, you guys. And so she did not get the best Rushni, but I showed up today. I'm back. I'm back like I never left, period. So no, thank you so much for having me. This has been beautiful, and all the best with your podcast and all of your.
And what's the name of your? I'm sorry, your podcast is it Create Your Life? Is that the name of your?
Create Your Life is my planning retreat. I don't have a podcast per se.
Okay.
But every Friday I go live on YouTube. And sometimes I also stream to LinkedIn and Facebook.
Okay.
And it's called Find Your Light, which was remnants from a previous thing.
Okay.
And I talk about different topics by myself or with Black women. So if people want to find me on YouTube, I will be there most Fridays around 7 p.m. CST is when I do it.
Okay. Awesome. All right, ladies, you guys stay safe. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And I will talk with you next time. Thank you so much. Have a good day and a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.